Wondering who's likely to win the 2025 Australian federal election? In this video, I team up with my astrology friend Sam from Three Fates Astrology to explore two powerful predictive charts. Sam reads the Ingress Lunation chart that sets the tone for the election month, and I unpack the close of poll chart to see what the stars might reveal about the final result. I'm Kim Fairminer, astrologer and word witch. If you enjoy these astrology forecasts, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts and questions in the comments. If you're looking to connect more deeply with your intuitive power as we navigate these uncertain times, I'm hosting an online witchcraft circle which begins just before the election. You'll find the link in the description below. Hello, and welcome back. I am here with my very talented and learned friend, Sam from Three Fates Astrology. And as we promised in the Aries Ingress chart, or maybe we didn't promise, maybe we just offered a teaser, we wanted to look at the election. So Australia is going to the polls to elect a new federal government on the Saturday, the 3rd of May. So we're about 2 weeks out from it. This is really like a lively time to experiment and hone in on the techniques that are good to work with mundane astrology. And we looked at the Ingress chart. That is always really important. So you can go back and check that video out if you've missed it. And one thing that Sam was looking at were some lunation charts in relation to that Ingress chart. And I'm really sort of excited to be seeing how we can approach the outcome, let's say, predictions of the election through this new to me. I've never thought of looking at an Ingress lunation chart to find out the result of an election. So I'm really keen to sort of, approach this with you and learn a new trick for my astrological tool bag. Tell us about it, Sam.
Well, I'll just share my chart.
That's a groovy background.
I know, isn't it great? That's Robert Place, who he did a lot of the artwork for Chris Warnock's Astrology Magic.
Okay. So is that a moon mansion? Oh yeah, Pleiades.
Pleiades, yeah. I love the Pleiades.
Yeah, they're beautiful stars.
Okay, so let's so this is this is the lunation that you can use that we're going to be using for the 2025 Aries ingress. So basically you can do a month by month, like narrow down into the ingress of what's going to happen. You've got the broader scope of an Aries ingress chart, but this is kind of narrow it down a little bit. And because this lunation just happens to encapsulate the election, I'm going to use this chart.
So this is the lunation before the ingress, and because
this is the lunation after the ingress. So what you do is basically you find out whether the lunation that happened just prior to the ingress chart was a full moon or a new moon. And then that determines on which lunations you're going to look at going forward. So because the full moon happened just prior to the Aries ingress, we're going to look at now full moon charts as a prediction tool
for the following months.
Basis.
So
yeah. And so
okay.
So did you have a question?
No, I'm just sort of, piecing it together in my head and saying the words out loud. So hopefully it sinks in. So what we've got here is we've got the lunation after the ingress, and we're like checking in with each full moon because there was a full moon before the ingress to see what's happening in the following month. But we're going with the full moons rather than new moons because of the relationship between the ingress date and the lunation.
This lunation started on the 13th of April and will probably go, in the next 28, 29 days. So it'll encapsulate that, contain the election. And I really love this chart because, just when you first look at it, you just look at all of that 10th house action,
Mm.
and the 10th house in mundane astrology is all about government and the prime minister and who governs over the country. And there's some really powerful fixed stars. I haven't looked into all of them, but I did look at, in particular, Regal, because he's in the first house and ruling over the 10th house. So it was really interesting to me to see Gemini on the ascendant, because I thought, it's pretty much a choice between two people,
Yeah.
it's
There's a lot of talk about
and
minor
then we've got,
parties, but at the end of the day, it's either the LNP or Labor that will form government in any sort of way, shape, or form, and maybe they bring in extra people. But yeah, there's your duality, the two-party system.
it was interesting also to see in this chart, there's just so much more, again, all of the main significators are kind of applying to a malefic. You know what I mean? It's kind of like being in between a rock and a hard place.
You're talking about
If
that
you look
Mars,
at, so you've got the moon applying to a square with Mars. We've got Mercury just leaving Mars, and then applying to Neptune, which is pretty much classified as a malefic.
I concur.
Yeah. Yeah, we've both got experiences there.
Indeed.
But so we've also got, Venus applying to Saturn, right? So it's just it's, there's some nice things happening there, but it's also, they're mainly, everything's still applying to a malefic. So I'll kind of go through it place by place. So the first thing that I saw is I work with the parts, so, and I've kind of brought up some parts here that they use in mundane charts, which, you don't need to really pay attention. But in particular, I wanted to look at, because we've got the part of debt right on the ascendant.
Oh,
right?
wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Degrees
Yeah,
away.
amazing. And so the first house is really talking about, the whole of the nation. And so this election definitely is about money matters. I think a big part of it is they're trying to appeal. A lot of the country are in, a lot of people in the country are in trouble financially, or are on the verge of becoming in trouble financially, just because of the way the markets have gone and the way things are increasing. And I think that the government, or the people who are appealing, are trying to kind of focus on that, and that very much talks to that moon square Mars there, and the housing crisis that we're having. You've got the moon in the 4th house squaring Mars in the 2nd house.
Yeah.
And you see all these promises at the moment from, our would-be prime ministers, offering all of these housing deals and the mortgage, 5% first homeowners and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But to me, I don't know how much they actually have the ability to offer that cost. I think they're offering, but I don't know how much follow through they're actually going to get going to do with that, because if we look at the moon, which is the ruler of the second house of, the money that we have, like the stock market, the way the money markets, like the way the country makes money and how much money we've got. The moon is currently in the via combustor, which is the fiery road,
Yep.
and making a square to Mars in the second house. Mars is in, he has got a, he's basically Peregrine, which is kind of saying, we're making all these promises with money, but I don't know whether we're going to have a lot of trouble actually making that happen.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like, because the moon's received by that Mars in Cancer there, but it just kind of seems like hot, and that Jupiter on the ascendant, it's got a bit of a bubble vibe. And look at that nodal axis down the bottom of the chart on the IC there. Like anything they do kind of upset existing homeowners, but there's something really kind of combustible there. Um, yeah. And it's
And even sort of Jupiter is in, Jupiter's not happy there either. Like he's making lots of promises that he can't necessarily deliver, which isn't unusual.
yeah. Politicians shooting off
So,
the mouth.
oh, how unusual. But like it is actually interesting, like Mercury and Jupiter are in also in reception. So there's a feeling that like, we really want to believe in each other. You know what I mean? We want to believe that they're going to be doing this because it's been a long road. Mercury, as well as ruling the first house, is also ruling the fourth house as well, showing like that's actually is what we want to hear about, like home ownership and real estate and food and just the basics of living.
Yeah.
Basic necessities are super important to everyone
Yeah.
at the
We should
moment.
probably mention it's not just home ownership too, but it's also finding a rental is really tricky as well. Like there's just not enough places for people to live in. I just wonder, we've got that Libra moon there, and then we've got the two planets that are very comfortable in Libra right up there on the midheaven. Venus rules that moon, and Saturn's the exaltation ruler of Venus as well. So I think the government wants to be seen to be doing something, like seen to be offering the sweetener and giving the people what they want. You mentioned that cute little reception between Mercury and Jupiter, but really that Mars is just coming along, spoiling the party. I don't know if any of those promises, because that I don't know. It just seems too good to be true that these policies that they're coming out with are going to fix that problem and create the security, the stability, the sense of comfort that really we're looking for.
Yeah. Like, I
This is,
mean, it kind of, to me, because both of those, like Jupiter and Mercury as the ruler of the country, the people, and then Jupiter as the ruler of the prime minister, the government, like they're both in, you know, pretty awful positions, but they're kind of relying on each other in this election. Like Jupiter's like needs Mercury and Mercury needs Jupiter. You know what I mean? Like, so
they're telling
yeah,
us what we want to hear.
but so they can get into power, but they also we need them and they need us, like
Yeah.
at this situation because we're both in a bad situation. The basics, food, a roof over our heads, and having the tail there, the tail of the dragon, he often speaks about sacrifice and, almost like having to give things up. And I think there's a very strong feeling that is the number one issue that is going to decide who's going to become prime minister. The one thing I don't like Mercury about to join with Neptune, which is going to feel like someone's just been lied to.
Yeah, it just kind of makes
Sharp.
those promises even a little bit more empty, and it's like they just go up in like a mist.
So my suggestion is, like, with this chart, it feels like don't necessarily listen to the promises, look at the past actions, like what has been going on, because the future might not pan out the way with what they're suggesting.
That's very true with those mutable angles as well. The changeability that happens in this month where we're holding an election, not necessarily a change of government, but just that instability, that wheeling and dealing.
Totally. Yes. It's always mutables can flip-flop, and I think that having that moon, which represents the people and, the common people, like the regular people, kind of, in the fourth house, really want that because, they're in a, bad position. Maybe even real estate, maybe even commercial real estate is even, kind of doing badly, shopkeepers and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's interesting the moon's on Spiker too, because isn't this the sheep of wheat? Kind of like that staple food, largely a positive fixed star though.
Yeah, Spiker is usually connected to so that would probably be more of an agricultural signal, I would say. I've misplaced my Vivian Robson fixed star book since I last. Anyway, I can't find it. I'm a spit Spiker. I think Spiker there. That could go back to. I mean, I remember the Ingress chart actually did have a pretty strong fourth house axis emphasis again. So it's interesting to see, this happening. The moon and the south node, and also the Mercury there. So I think the other thing that really stands out is, like I don't know, like I kind of said it looked like Dutton, but it's really hard to tell with this chart. I think having Venus, what was interesting to me, Venus traveling towards Saturn. So, Venus also is talking about perhaps appealing to women.
Yeah,
She's in a pretty powerful position, Venus. She's actually the most
absolutely.
powerful planet. Yeah, she's in a really good shape, except she is stationing, so she's kind of coming around. She is the ruler of that Venus, of that moon.
Yep.
So it is again talking about that difficulty there and appealing to people trying to make it better. Like, this is what we're going to offer you.
Yes,
Because
sweetness.
I know you guys all care about this. But heading towards Saturn, is Saturn being the ruler of the 8th house and the 9th house of debt, and also, foreign investment.
Taxes as well.
And
There was some tax incentives being thrown around.
Okay. I actually was wondering if this is talking about foreign home ownership as well. Like, because I know they're bringing in some.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that
doing
both major parties are pausing foreign purchases on existing homes or something like that. So much of what's happening in this election campaign is one party comes up with something, other ones goes, yeah, us too, we're doing that as well. So you've got to kind of like dig a bit deeper to find out what the actual differences are.
Yeah, so all in all, like I'll kind of just wrap it up, but it kind of feels like to me, like it does look, the current ruler of the government, it's a little bit hard because the current ruler of the government is, ruled by Jupiter, and he's in the fourth house. So it kind of he's in the first house. So it looks like he's the preferred, here.
Yeah, I'd probably say that as well. And I mean, you've got the moon there applying to Mars, which is the term ruler of the MC as well. Is that the next? Oh,
Yes.
not. Yeah, that's the next aspect, isn't it? Of the moon.
So it looks like a difficulty, like something hard one. So yeah, it is. It's the term ruler.
So you reckon the
let me
government will
see.
hang on with this chart?
It looks like it
I think so.
because
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it'll be really close because Mercury, and so this is why it's hard, because the opposition leader has been elevated up to the 10th house. So that's why it's like, oh, it feels like really close, really close. But then the thing is that Mercury, even though he's going to be moving into a better sign, but then he joins with Neptune.
His dreams of being the PM go up in smoke. Well, actually,
It
it would
just
be.
looks like it disappears. Like maybe this will be Dutton's last. I mean, I'm kind of glad Neptune's Neptune's there. But it kind of looks like, yeah, just like, because, that's what he does. He kind of makes Neptune kind of makes people disappear or just like vague out of the scene. So yeah, it does look like a difficult call there. I'll be interested to see what your chart says.
Yeah, well, let's flip over. Some of the themes that you've identified are reiterated in this close of pole chart. Okay, so this is a close of pole chart. Now you'll notice here that I have cast the chart for 6 p.m. Perth time. Now I learnt this off a very skilled Australian astrologer, the amazing Murray Garcia, who clarified the appropriate time and location for looking at a close of pole chart. So Australia's big. We've got, multiple 7 states and territories, and Western Australia is the last jurisdiction to finish voting. So we cast the chart for the local time for the capital of that jurisdiction. So this is why we've got 6 p.m. in Perth, and that's when all the polls shut in the last jurisdiction. Like it'll be 8 p.m. in Canberra by then. And I did look at that chart, but then I remembered it was not the appropriate chart to use. So we have fixed signs on the angles of this chart, which I feel kind of offers a suggestion that we are reluctant to change. As a nation, we want stability and certainty from this election outcome and, hopefully for the parliamentary term to come. So we're Scorpio rising. That represents us, the voters, perhaps, quietly seething, feeling a little bit intense about things, but not really saying too much. But then you look at the ruling planet of Scorpio, which is Mars, and that is right up the top of the chart. So we are so ready to vote. We want to get out there and have our voices heard. And I feel this angular Mars suggests that the result will be emphatic, which I've like I follow a bit of politics and stuff, and a lot of people have said, oh, the independents, all these minor parties and things, we could get a hung parliament. I'm pretty sure that's what they said last time. Albanese currently has a very slim majority. So to me, I think that kind of leans towards a continuation of the current government. We do have the moon. That's an indicator of the people, along with the ruler of the first house, the nation as a whole, the voters, us. So we've got Mars on the MC, and then we've got the moon at the very end of Cancer. So there's a bit of kind of, this late degree suggests imminent change. But does this moon changing signs into the sign of the midheaven mean that there will be a change of government, or this moon coming to the midheaven means that we're going to stick with the current government? So that's a question that I just kind of put to one side when I was looking at these indicators. And we need to go deeper into this chart. The Mars up here on the MC, to me, you try to be neutral. I have my political opinions, as do you, as do, the viewers watching this. Please don't tell us who you're voting for in the comments. We don't care. Talk to us about the astrology. But I think that, this shows that the people favour the current government. The 10th house is the ruling party. The 4th house is the opposition. So the moon coming towards the midheaven and into the sign of the midheaven, to me, leans towards a continuation of the Labor government. Just thinking back to your chart, that lunation chart, you had the south node down on the IC, and then you mentioned that Mercury was moving towards Neptune, and you wondered if Dutton would go up in a puff of smoke. Well, down here, perhaps where there's smoke, there's fire, because we've got Pluto down here on the IC. So written here, a bit of a snowy man from Snowy River's quote. There's a lot more than just movement at the station here. There's deep foundational rumblings for Australia around historical allies, mining, things that happen underground, undersea, things, power and control. This is also happening in the Liberal Party. Before we get to that, though, I also wanted to point out another angular planet. We've got Uranus on the descendant. So if this is, Australia as a whole, this is other countries. These are the people that we have country-to-country relationships with. And there's, if you've been paying any kind of, side attention to the news, you'll know that there's been a lot of instability in previous weeks, geopolitical shifts, economic shifts with, Trump making changes, intervening in the Ukraine war, throwing tariffs around, China retaliating. There's a lot going on, and, you wake up and you check the news headlines and you just don't know what you're going to be reading. So we're fixed sign people right now, fixed sign angle people. We don't really like this. We want things to continue as they are. I feel we want confidence and security that things are going to go on, that we can predict things, that we can hold things together and, make decisions that agree with our, I would say, conservative values. And I don't mean that in terms of the Conservative Party, but we don't like unpredictability. A lot of countries were founded on civil war. We kind of, kept all that on the quiet during, those colonial times and kind of wallpapered over that. But these angular planets, to me, indicate that this is a really consequential election, and that whoever does get in is going to be dealing with some really big stuff, like hidden stuff, power dynamics, and perhaps we won't hear about a lot of what happens in that kind of international forum. This parliament is going to have to do some tough stuff.
Close of polls is usually always at, evening.
Yes. Yeah.
So that would always usually put the sun below the horizon. But because, there's a few warning signs for me, like, yeah, I think the fixed angles are definitely talking about, like, we don't want change. We don't want any more change. Like, seriously, come on.
Yeah.
And but I think because that Leo on the midheaven kind of, I don't like seeing this fallen sun, like, and also on top of that, you've got the moon. Its last connection was with Saturn, which is the ruler of the fourth house of
Yeah.
opposition.
The moon's
So
also moving away from the sextile to Uranus. And as you said, we don't want that excitement and instability. It's moving away from the trine to Saturn. And to me, that kind of says we don't want negativity. We don't want austerity. And we talked before when we were looking at your lunation chart about a lot of the promises and the generosity of those promises.
yeah.
Yeah. And then the moon forms a trine to that Neptune and Venus there. So that's a bit of, I've written in my notes, we just love a refreshing bevy on a warm day at a sporting event. Like, really,
It's really interesting.
yeah. And
Sorry.
then the moon who says no bevy for you. You've got to look at this dirt under the rug, something that we don't want to look at. And perhaps it's due to mining wealth. Maybe it's to do with the electrification of the power grid. Maybe it's the infiltration of a sinister enemy. Like I don't quite know what. I mean, there are a few ideas of what that Pluto down stationing Pluto too. This Pluto is, oh, I can't remember if it was poised to go direct or yeah, but it is like hovering on that 3 degrees 49. It's stationing retrograde. So there's some kind of unfinished
Yeah, that's
business.
intense. That's really intense.
Yeah.
I think this is a pretty pivotal election in so many ways, just because of everything that's happening in the world. The only thing that I would like to see this chart compared against the ingress,
Ah, okay.
just to see, because I think Saturn ruled the fourth house of the ingress chart, if I remember. I think it had Capricorn there. Yeah, because it was a Libra rising, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely cardinal rising.
Personally, am a little bit worried that the moon has just separated from Saturn, which shows the voting, the common people. Their last connection was with this energy, which represents the opposition leader to me, and then is moving into like a brand new sign, you know?
Yeah.
Ooh, to me, that's like a little bit like I think the angles there are definitely talking about, not wanting change, but it's also you've got that, what were you talking about before with the Venus and the
So the
Neptune?
moon, after it changes sign, it applies by trine to this Neptune
Neptune.
Venus, and then it then it opposes Pluto. So like that's not a smooth run for the moon before it gets to that MC.
Yeah, it definitely something's going to happen like right after the election. Like someone could, yeah, definitely disappear. Like maybe, Dutton just kind of goes poof,
I
because
what did I
the moon,
yeah.
the moon is translating light between Saturn and that Venus. That's its next connection, I think,
So you were right,
which
like
is,
about
yeah.
the sun. It would always be around the descendant, but sometimes the sun sets after 6 p.m. It's just that it's in May in winter that bumps it down underneath the horizon because it's winter here in Australia, and the sun sets earlier. I also think one of the sort of key images of the election campaign has been Anthony Albanese thrown around like him like whipping out the Medicare card as well. So there's a pretty strong emphasis on the sixth house. And perhaps the sixth house sun means that Albanese is seen as solid and reliable on those issues. Um,
Mm.
that's a potential way
Yeah,
of
it's
seeing
nice
that.
to see. Yeah, I like the focus on health. I think that is, and I actually noticed I had some people come around door knocking,
Oh.
to try and get you to vote their way. And their main, like that seems to be the main thing, health and home and like the basics of life. That's how they're trying to appeal to people.
Yeah, I think that moon,
Maybe
the
for
moon's
your
also like slightly out of bounds as well. So there's this sense of being really like fed up with how we're kind of living our lives on an everyday basis. Like, if your lease is up, like there goes your life for, the next 3 months. You've got to find somewhere new to live. Nobody likes grocery shopping anymore because everything's ridiculously expensive. So there's a lot of issues around housing and, kind of like that domestic sphere, family issues, care professions, women's health, domestic violence as well, although that's not really being terribly talked about like very much. Um,
Mm. Well,
yeah.
that was that Venus Saturn right up on the midheaven too.
Yeah,
Um,
I definitely see echoes of like the importance of I want to say like women's issues, but it's not women's issues because there's fathers, there's grandfathers, there's sons and brothers. Like these are like family issues, the issues that people experience, within the home, like, what you can afford in your trolley, where you're going to live, who's going to look after the kids while you're pulling some overtime, stuff like that. Like that affects, all genders. It matters. Um, I
so what do you think, Kim?
my
You
th
think
my
you'll
thing
be staying?
is that my judgment is it won't be as close as expected. I really think the moon applying to the midheaven and the Lord of the first house. Sorry, that's super nerdy. Like Mars, the ruler, the chart ruler being so close to the midheaven. I think that Labor will hold on. Um, I also think there's a strong chance that the leadership of the LNP will change. Dutton, like,
Mm,
the people I think wanted to believe in Dutton, but I think this separating trine and then, ultimately that Pluto down there, like, and linked in with your lunation chart that had the south node down the bottom, if we look at that in terms of the election, like that does not bode well for the leader of the opposition. So I think
definitely.
that there is a chance that he will lose his seat, or that he will step down from leadership of the party. If I was like either one, and I wanted to be prime minister, I think I'd rather be the top guy, the ruler of the sun. I mean, he's not in great nick here, but I'd rather be him than what like people are just kind of like leaving. There's this kind of falling away, to borrow. Yeah,
Even Saturn is like about to enter into some pretty ugly territory.
yeah, yeah.
So
Again, like that Neptune
yeah,
just
definitely would rather the current prime minister. Like the sun, um, as the if you take to the 10th house ruler as the current prime minister, the sun
yeah.
is so much nicer than that Saturn conjunct. Because the North Node, or Rahu, he expands and intensifies whatever he contacts. So, and Saturn, do we really want a Saturnian prime minister who's about to enter into like his fall? Um,
Yeah.
no.
I look, if I was a betting woman and I haven't popped onto sports bet, they're normally like reasonably reliable, those the odds, apart from that year where they paid out on Bill Shorten. But like the sun, if you look, the sun kind of has got a bit of clear air degree wise. Nothing much is kind of happening. And I think the next planet to make an aspect to the sun is either probably in terms of time, I don't know how far.
So the last thing it separated from was what, Mars? What is it connecting to next?
Well, it's not for ages.
It's nothing.
Maybe he gets to the angle. The sun will move over the descendant. Yeah. Again, I just think
I can't wait. I'm going to be watching. It's going to be interesting to kind of go back over when the election happens and
yeah, I think so too. So my feeling looking at these charts, it was certainly my feeling looking at this close of poll chart that the Labor government will continue. And I think your chart, the Lunation chart, following the Ingress, also supports that as well. So yeah, it's definitely one to watch. I don't know if it's congratulations or commiserations if we've predicted your political preference to get up. I don't see a lot of kind of hung parliament, a lot of negotiation and wheeling and dealing between independents and stuff here. Although perhaps, there could be some. I mean, I guess there's a little bit of negotiation each time, but I think that Mercury would want to make a deal, but maybe he doesn't have to. Yeah. All right. We've tipped it, Sam.
Yeah. I don't like to make predictions like that, but I guess that's what we're kind of doing.
We are. We can say we're making a judgment. I think, I mean, there's two outcomes as we sort of, talked about at the start. If an astrologer can't, put themselves on the line for a 50-50 after looking at a couple of charts in the election, I mean, you're a wuss.
Why not? Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. So when is it? It's the 3rd of May. That's not very far. That's like
no,
2 weeks away.
It is 2 weeks away. We won't have to wait too long, and then everybody can come on and go, you are wrong, or yay, you are right. Yeah, we'd love some comments. And, if you've got some thoughts on either of these charts, you've seen something that we missed, please pop it in the comments. We'd, love to hear your thoughts. We'll probably do future videos where we sort of nerd out over a chart because it's what we like to do. So we thought we'd share it.
It's really good teaching. It's a good teaching opportunity for everyone, us included, I think, that's what it's never-ending learning.
Yeah, that's what I love about astrology is that there's always something to learn, something to look at. We've been doing this for quite some time, and I'm still learning new things and noticing small details. It's an endless world of discovery. So yes, people subscribe, more chats from me and Sam. Why wouldn't you want to subscribe with more of these crazy, interesting astrological juicy nerd fests. Gosh, I'm getting tired now. I'm putting together
we can ask people what they would be interested in seeing as well, like in terms of future kind of mundane charts.
Yeah. Well, we've got a couple of months until the Cancer Ingress, which we need to come back for. We promised that in the Aries one. There was an interesting legal judgment in the UK that I'm umming and ahhing about whether I want to dive into or not. If you know what I'm hinting at, please pipe up in the comments and give us a nudge. We'll go there. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing that lunation forecasting technique with us. We'll find out if we're right or not. Yeah. Some kind of dog barking up a tree, but barking up a starlit tree, maybe. Yeah, but enough tongue twisters from me.
Yeah.
You have a great afternoon, Sam, and see you next time.
You too. Bye, everyone.
We'd love to hear what you're interested in. Leave a comment and tell us what kind of mundane astrology topics you'd like us to explore next. And if you'd like to learn how to wield your magic effectively during these pivotal times, join me in my upcoming witchcraft circle. Details are below.